This question gives me no pleasure, Mr. Cosby, but there have been serious allegations raised about you in recent days. You're shaking your head no. I'm in the news business. I have to ask the question. Do you have any response to those charges? Shaking your head no. There are people who love you who might like to hear from you about this. I want to give you the chance. All right.
All right, folks. Welcome to Gimme 5. That was Scott Simon on NPR, National Public Radio, to his credit, asking Bill Cosby during an in-studio interview with Cosby and his wife about the rape allegations that have come to light, that have been all over the place as of late. And the reason he said you're shaking your head no, because it's radio. So he wanted to give the listener the picture of what Cosby was doing. Cosby shook his head no from the beginning. But let Scott Simon describe it for you. By the way, if someone said I raped someone and I didn't, I'm going to be up on the roof shouting, I didn't rape someone. See, I didn't talk about this story at all. But now that he's had an opportunity to say publicly, I did not do it, and instead he sits there and shakes his head, I won't answer. Got to have some doubt. Here's Scott Simon describing how it all occurred.
As I began to say, this question gives me no pleasure, he began to shake his head and go like that. So I think he certainly understood which question was coming. He was, he gave what I would refer to as that delightful, impish kind of little Cosby smile at first, and then was silent, didn't answer the question.
Nope, he did not answer the question. Now, were there any parameters? Was anything talked about before the interview? Did you expect him to answer that question? Here's what he had to say.
Nobody said anything. I think his people had said to some of our producers, he's represented by a very famous PR man in Beverly Hills who's done a lot of good work for him and other clients over the years. I believe they said things like, you guys are so classy, you don't dip into the muck and the mud the way the rest of the people do, and I think that's true. But no, nobody indicated that what happened would happen.
All right, now here's the deal. David Letterman, he was supposed to be on David Letterman, I think today. He canceled that interview after this interview. And Simon says that he believed, he was surprised that Bill Cosby showed up and didn't cancel his interview altogether. Watch.
I thought there was a good chance the interview would be canceled. Obviously, it wasn't. And I think we can probably fairly safely say that they had a strategy in place for when the question was asked, which maybe they thought that we couldn't use silence on the radio.
Yeah, well, surprise, surprise. Now, as far as asking the question in front of Cosby's wife, who was sitting right there with him, he explains that.
She is very gracious and very warm, and we spoke, mostly about this extraordinary art collection of which they've lent 62 pieces to the to the Smithsonian. When they had contacted us weeks ago exploring the possibility of an interview, it was because this joint exhibit is opening at the Smithsonian, and she's just a delight. I have to tell you, when I asked that question of Mr. Cosby, I wanted to pointedly make it of Mr. Cosby and not Mr. and Mrs. Cosby, and therefore I pointedly looked at him. I did not look at Mrs. Cosby. I don't mind saying I might have been a little uncomfortable to do that anyway, but I did not look at her.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. Again, for NPR, I give him a lot of credit for asking this icon, what he asked him. But I think Bill Cosby, they say, well, on advice of counsel, he didn't answer. There are agreements that have been signed with other women where you can't say anything. Didn't stop the woman who says she was raped 30 years ago from coming out. Here's the deal. If anybody could accuse you of rape, okay? If you're accused of rape and you don't say, I didn't do it, something's up. I don't know what, but something's up in my opinion. Your Newsmax Now update is next.